Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It is Tuesday, April 22nd. So, what are we going to be talking about today? I'm not sure if you guys have seen yesterday afternoon's video, and it was basically trying to figure out how to approach any job that comes into the shop. And hang tight. Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric. And if you didn't know it, this is the weekday, Monday through Friday. Today is Tuesday, April 22nd. So what are we talking about today? We're talking about, especially for you guys that are just starting out. Alright, you had to start somewhere. We started somewhere. And you're bound to screw up. So accept that fact as being true, that you are not going to be 100% spot on every time. Even seasoned mechanics make mistakes, right? What do they say about a carpenter? A good carpenter knows how to cover their mistakes. But we've had a lot of discussion on what's the best way when a machine comes in. And that is, it depends on the machine. It depends upon what it's doing. You know, if it's a non-running machine, Jason said it very well a couple of years back, is do a compression check on it before they take it off the back of the truck. Because if the compression is not there, there's no sense in wasting time. It only takes you a couple of minutes to pull the plug, put the compression tester in it, and turn it over or pull the cord. You can tell the owner that you could possibly put PB Blaster in if it's sat for years and let it sit there and work its way through. We've had equipment that would be in the low numbers, like 0 on the farm tractor, on all 4 cylinders, and we put PB Blaster in it, and then every couple of days we would crank it over with the battery, and we're not doing compressions, we're just cranking it over to kind of loosen all that crud up, right? And then put some more PB Blaster in. And we've taken a tractor with 0s all the way across up into the 90s and 100s. So just because it doesn't have compression doesn't mean it's not fixable. It just depends on the situation. If it's been sitting for quite a long time and it ran before it got parked or put away, that trick might work for you. You can tell the owner that it's going to cost them a diagnostic fee, but if you want, you can take and put PB Blaster in it, set it inside the shop somewhere. Every couple of days, give it a pull to loosen up all that crud, put PB Blaster back in it, and go, right? So that's probably the most important thing that you'll ever hear is do this before it gets off the truck, honestly. Because if you don't do that and you don't charge a diagnostic fee, every Tom, Dick, and Harry is going to bring you everything they found on the side of the road to get fixed because they think it isn't going to cost much and they're going to make a killing. And by charging a diagnostic fee, I weeded out a lot of these guys that were doing just that. You know, I'm all for it. If you're doing it to give you something to do, to try to figure it out, great. Or flipping it, if you have more parts machines there that you can use, great. But it's not for us. I don't want junk units. I don't want curbside units, you know, unless it's something minor. And I've seen something as minor as the valves out of adjustment cause low compression and have somebody park it out at the curb and go buy a brand new one, when all they had to do was have the valves adjusted to the right specs. So when it comes to checking for the compression, you have to check and see, does it have overhead valves? And overhead valves are usually behind a shiny aluminum or steel cover, usually 2 bolts, sometimes 4 to get them off. And you need to use feeler gauges and look up what the specs are on that engine to see, is that engine have the right clearance on the valves? Because if your exhaust is open, you're going to lose compression there, right? It's going to bleed out that if it's not adjusted right. And if you're not sure of it, there's 110,000 videos online of how to adjust valves on every piece of equipment out there. There's nothing new that I can show you, right? All I can tell you is it's being done. Do your due diligence and find out and get a good set of feeler gauges if you're going to get into repairs. That's probably one of the first things you want to buy, right? And they aren't that expensive. But what if you have a customer bring it to you and it was running and then stopped running? See, you have to go by what the customer's telling you and then disregard everything after. Some customers are spot on. They've known their equipment for years and they just decided it's easier for us to fix it than them. They don't want to spend the time out in the shop anymore. They're getting up in years. Let it be Eric and Claude's headache, right? So, like the chainsaw and the weed trimmer, that came in from one customer. And he come in and said to me that the chainsaw was running great, but it didn't have a lot of top end power when he was using it. And he thought he might have flooded it because he tried getting it started again by pumping more fuel and putting in the choke on. And nothing was happening. And then the weed trimmer with the brush head on it, the blade, he said that would start and run, but the minute you tried to rev it up, it wouldn't rev up. And I hadn't seen either one of these in a couple of years. So they were more than due for adjusting the high-low jets on it. You don't have to tear carburetors off every job that you do. You don't. A lot of times it's just simple things. Is it okay to have a policy of taking every carburetor off? That's up to you and the owner. I'm more leaning towards keep it simple, stupid. And I know that it's hard for people to grasp that idea because I can hear some of you saying, well, that's being really stupid, Eric, because if you're bypassing those two things as more shop hours, you're losing money on the deal. But am I? See, what I find is if I can do it and get in, get out for a really reasonable price, that customer is going to be my best advertiser. They will tell everybody about how great they were treated. They didn't have to buy a $78 carburetor for each one of them. They just had some minor adjustments. The spark plug he did foul. I mean, the cylinder was just loaded with gas. So there wasn't any sense in using the old plug because that was just black as coal. But once I took and sprayed carb cleaner in there and then just let it air dry for a couple hours and then put a new spark plug on, put it in, and I could get it to fire up, but I couldn't get it to stay running. And that's when I started adjusting the jets on it. But like I said, that even from year to year, and Jason, you're Travis, whoever else got a shop there, how often do you adjust the high-low jets on customers? I find that once a year, isn't bad. You're getting it in where it needs to be for RPMs, and you're getting it so it's idling nice without having the chain going on the chainsaw. But you also have it adjusted so that when you hit the throttle, she's right up to peak, right? Because those will, as they are used, the more they are used, the quicker you need to adjust is a great idea. A lot of my guys will cut their season firewood in the fall. They'll start in the spring and work through till the fall and then have all their wood for the following winter. So that's what this guy did. He cut his wood for his place last year and he got it out this spring and it was giving him some issues. So it came here, it got adjusted, new plug, new fuel, and blew the air filter out. Easy peasy. Yes, you're not making as much. I get that. But if you base every transaction on the amount of time you can tag to a customer, you're doing it all wrong. I'll tell you right now. You're doing it all wrong. You need to take care of your customer, and you need to do it in such a way that what would you do if it was your machine? Would you want somebody tacking stuff that wasn't necessary onto it? I know I wouldn't. So my motto has always been to try to treat people the way I would hope to be treated. There are some shady shops. I get it. Totally get it. But that doesn't mean you have to be one of them. And if you're not one of them, you'll stand out in your own way. People will talk. I would say the biggest repair in our shop undoubtedly is bad fuel. 100% bad fuel. And a lot of times when we drain the tank and we put in what we know is fresh and it starts and it runs great, you're not going to make a lot of money on it, but while it's there, give it a tune-up and at least get an hour to 2 hours on it plus gas for the machine. Don't start tearing everything down. Make it a policy at your shop. Drain the fuel. And then once you drain the fuel, if you have a riding lawnmower and stuff, also there's usually a plug, might be a bolt on the side or on the bottom that you can back out. Drain the carburetor too, because the water is going to be sitting down there, right? So by draining the whole system, the carburetor and the fuel tank, put the plug back in the carburetor, pour in fresh fuel, give it about 5 minutes to seep its way down through to the carburetor. And you may even need carb cleaner just to give her a couple shots to bring it up through the air breather, right? But once it brings it up, she's running great. And what I do is I let it run for 5-6 minutes and then I shut it down. And I mentioned yesterday in the video that Jason brought to the group quite some time ago, and that was never call your customer back the same day that you have it fixed. Never. Because it may start and do what you want it to do, but if you haven't done a cold start on it once or twice to make sure it's going to continue doing that, you may have a customer that's irate because now it won't start for them. So keep it long enough to do at least 1 to 2 cold starts on it to make sure it starts right up the way it's supposed to, runs the way it's supposed to, and it may even be a learning lesson with your customer. If your customer bought a new weed trimmer or a new saw and they're trying to start it the way they did their old one, it's not going to work. So just by reading the directions, usually on the cover of a chainsaw or the air breather cover on a weed trimmer, will tell you, put it full choke, pump it 6 times, crank it till it spits and sputters, bring it off half choke, and then give it a pull until it starts up, rev it a few times and let it warm up, and then take it off half choke and have the choke completely off. That's how it's supposed to run. And some of the old machines are different on how you do that, and the new machines are different than the old machines. So what I find a lot of times is the customer is trying to start it wrong. They're not reading the information that's on the air cleaner cover, telling them exactly what to do. And I have one Cub Cadet trimmer that they wanted you to pull it 6 times on full choke, 6 times on half choke, and then pull it with the choke off until it finally fired. And it would not start if you tried it any other way. But that's 18 pulls just to get fuel up there. I mean, that's crazy, especially when you got older people. And they wonder why people are going to battery, right? So keeping it long enough to do cold starts is very important. Draining the fuel out of it is something we've done for years. And the reason we've done it for years is bit us in the ass more than once. And there are fuel additives out there. PRI-G, as Jason mentioned, and I buy now and I add to all of our fuel. Is it a cure-all for everything? I know. It's not. Does it hurt? No. I don't see where it hurts it either. If you got a lot of water in that tank, I don't care what additive you have, you are not going to get that sucker to run and perform the way it should. It just won't. I mean, Moses parted the seas, but you aren't going to fix that at all. We're putting an additive in. So on that note, put in the comments stuff that I missed that you think are really important for somebody starting out, or even an old timer, on how to do intakes and what do you take from the customer and how do you approach each job as you're coming to it. You know, I listen to the customer, but I have my own approach on compression, fire, fuel, air. That's my 4 stages that I follow. If it's a 2-stroke, check this screen arrestor in the muffler. If that's plugged in, it'll start, but it won't rev up because it has no way to exhaust. So on that note, you guys have a great Tuesday, and we'll see you here bright and early tomorrow morning. On a side note, because most of the other guys are gone by now, but is Amos doing all right? Because I haven't seen him post. Or if you're doing all right, just say, hey, I'm here. All right, you guys have a great day.